join with me. Happy Easter!
Let us be seated and welcome into the sanctuary, and let us open ourselves up to that wonderful experience of the soulfulness of this day. And so let us take a conscious, connected breath now. As we release and let go all of the distractions of the outer world and open ourselves up to the illumination and the light of the inner world, we move into a state of thanksgiving and blessing and praise and love to the source of our being, the creator of our lives, the sustainer of those lives, the provider of our good and the lover of our souls. As we, in this moment now, allow that light to rise up so that we can feel its pulsation and be in delight as we so desire to spread it, to shine it, to pass it on, and to bless with everything and everyone around us with that graced presence that fills us. And so this is what I'm knowing. I will not leave this room the same way as I came into it. I will be still. I will be open. I will put myself into a state of readiness to hear more clearly and feel more deeply that power and that presence that fills me and never leaves me. I am open to experiencing that love that holds me and that will never let me go. And within that state of being, I move into a realization that all is well. All is very well, and nothing may or need concern me. For I am in the midst of a very, very real and present help and assistance in any moment of challenge in my life. And once I step out of the concern around it and surrender in faith to the transforming power of that life within me, I know I am restored. And that is what this moment, this day is about. Restoration, the resurgence of life, and my ability to allow it to do what it's capable of doing by means of me. And that is to transform and to raise up and to rebirth and realign and unify, as I know that all I need ever is to look within and allow that power and presence to to do what it wants to do, what it can do, if I allow it. And so praising and blessing and honoring and thanking and loving my source and knowing the highest and the best good in my life and all of its aspects, and knowing that for every person on the plane and for every living thing, I release this that I know to be really deeply true from within the center core of my being into the receiving creative process, the law of life itself, knowing I am responded to immediately as I say, and so it is. And now we have the wonderful Roxanne, who's going to raise our spirits and lift us up.
Well. Good morning. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus washed, oh, washed, yes, washed our fears away. It's a happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Spirit washed, oh, washed, yes, washed our troubles away. It's a happy day. God taught us how to love, give and pray. Yes, God did. Yes, God did. It's a happy day. Let us rejoice and sing praise every day. Yes, a day. Yes, it's a happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When beloved washed, oh, washed, yes, washed out sadness away. It's a happy day. God taught us how to love, give and pray. Yes, God did. Yes, God did. It's a happy day. Let us rejoice and sing praise every day, 'cause it's a happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. It's a happy day when we can wake up and be grateful. It's a happy day when we can open our eyes and see all the beauty before you and me. It's a happy day. It's a happy day. It's a happy day when we can stand up and walk and get together and talk the Spirit talk. It's a happy day. It's a happy day. It's a happy day. It's a happy day. It's a happy day.
what can I say? It's a happy day. And if you're not feeling it, there's something wrong with you. Yes, well, that was a wonderful way of putting us all into that resurrected energy and that lovely burgeoning life, springing forth within us all. So with that in mind, I want to welcome each and every one of you into the sanctuary on this day like no other day. And it is like no other day because all over the world there are millions and millions and millions and millions of people celebrating in all religions and all cultures what's happening on the land in this world right now. And it's spring rising and coming into its fullness, and with it all that amazing transformation that occurs and takes place as a consequence of that. And you and I are part of it. So thank you for being here and creating with us all of us together, this opportunity to enter into something that is greater and larger than we are, and to feel something that is greater and larger and bigger and wider than we are. And we do that by coming together, united in mind, body, heart, and soul, and creating this great vortex of energy in which any good thing can happen, any healing can occur, anything can be let go of and released, any good thing can be attracted if we are open and receptive to it. And we say, oh, happy day, hallelujah, and I'm ready for it. Bring it on. And so, without more ado, we have another musical inspiration. I don't know that we can stand it. I know I can. I don't know how that got placed in there, but we have another musical inspiration. Yes?
There is a well, there is a fountain, living waters, refreshing spring. There is Spirit who always satisfies every longing, every need. I come thirsty, thirsty and dry. I drink deeply from the waters of life, from your fountain. Goodness pours. I come thirsty for you, Lord. I come thirsty for you, Lord. There is a stream, there is a river overflowing from within, wide as the ocean, whose shores cannot contain all your goodness, all your love. I come thirsty, thirsty and dry. I drink deeply from the waters of life, from your fountain. Goodness pours. So I come thirsty for you, Lord. I come thirsty for you, Lord. My soul longs for you. Fill my heart with only you. My soul longs for you. Fill my heart with only you. My soul longs for you. Fill my heart with only you. I come thirsty and dry. I drink deeply from the waters of life, from your fountain. Goodness, I come thirsty for you, Lord. Come thirsty, thirsty, thirsty for you, Lord.
Reverend Louisa and Reverend Mary and Reverend Catherine will share with us some wonderful inspirational words from Ernest Holmes.
Happy Easter, everyone. Holy, 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 inner presence great and mighty, inner light that shines divinely, inner life that lives completely, inner joy that smiles serenely, inner peace that flows so deeply, inner calm, untroubled, happy, inner love that gives so freely, inner truth that never fails me, inner power that holds securely, inner eye that sees so clearly, inner ear that hears love always, inner voice that speaks supremely, inner good that binds me to thee, holy, holy, holy.
We must not look afar to see the Christ, for he is ever near at hand. He is always within us. To the individual, there can never be any power, any truth, or any life unless he is able to see and realize and recognize this truth. Jesus stands alone as a man who knew himself and was cognizant of his relationship to the perfect whole. The Christ knows that his individuality is indestructible, that he is an eternal being, living forever in the heart of the Father. The Christ is always triumphant, is ever a victor, is never defeated, and needs no champion. The Christ places his hand in the outstretched hand of the universe and walks unafraid through life.
Through the long night watches, his hand clasps mine. At the break of dawn, his hand clasps mine. In the daytime of work and endeavor, from eternity to eternity, his hand clasps mine. When time shall have passed, when eternity shall be strewn about like falling petals, and space and worlds shall be swallowed up in everlasting blessedness, his hand will clasp mine. We are never left without a witness of the eternal. And in our greatest moments, in those flashlight visions of mystic grandeur, we know that we are made of eternal stuff, fashioned after a divine pattern.
Please stand.
us greet the rising spirit within each other as we bless each other on this great day. Happy Easter, happy Easter. Happy Easter, so good to see you. Great. Happy Easter, Dean. Happy Easter, it's good to see you. Happy Easter, good sir. Happy Easter, beautiful. Happy Easter. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, how are you? Oh, how lovely to see you. All is well? The gorgeous grandma. I know, this is Grant. I know he has to look at drag me here today. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Happy Easter, dear. Happy Easter, my dear. Happy Easter, sweetheart. I missed you in class. Happy Easter, darling. Happy Easter, sweetheart. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Oh, it's good to see you. Looking great. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Well, we could continue this. We could continue this love fest later, and over a cup of coffee in Richelieu Hall, and catch up with each other, and so on. So again, I will welcome you into the sanctuary, and be delighted to be here in this celebration with you. And we'll just give them all a chance to find their seats. It's just like old times. All right, my dear ones, so again, we go back to understanding what's happening just now. And as I say, nature is a beautiful example to us all. But here's what happens sometimes, as I observe in myself, or indeed I observe in other people, especially people who come for counseling and all of that, that this springtime is happening and we're kind of unaware of it. And we think it's outside of ourselves, and it's just something that happens in nature in spring, that all this new life comes into being, and that, you know, the apparent miracle of all this lifefulness coming out of the deadness of winter. And it's taken so much for granted. And as I say, we don't seem to be able to be part of that resurgence and part of that feeling. And people don't look at us and say, "You've got great color today. That's a beautiful perfume you're wearing today. You seem to have such a singing spirit today." It's not what you kind of hear that often, do we? No, we don't. And yet, why is that? It's because nature is like a child. It's full of a sense of awe and wonder and immediacy and in the moment, and it has no dark mood, no dark feeling, no dark history to get in the way of it doing what it knows exactly how to do. It moves straight. There's an impulse within it, and there's nothing to stop it, block it, or prevent it from moving into the next cycle and the next phase of its lifefulness. And so, unlike us, it goes for it. Full force, steam ahead, it goes for it. And all of a sudden, once where there was a little patch with nothing going on, or so it seemed in it, you have this beautiful, beautiful new life of color and splendor and beauty and grace and fragrance and the greening of the land. And us, we stay stuck in our pot without anything going on or happening. Why is that? Well, we now know why. Because it is the shadowy and the dark moods and thoughts and history that gets in the way of it. And it stops us and blocks us from flowing into this cycle of our lives, which we're supposed to be in, which is life rising and transformation occurring and a moreness being felt and happening within us, around us, and about us. And so, that's the nature side of it. On the metaphysical side of it, on this day, this resurrection day, we're looking to something that is an interior or a cosmic spring occurring, an inner spring happening. And one of the most supreme and wonderful examples of all of that we see in the superb master teacher Jesus, who managed to move into that cosmic spring and realize what that meant for him and all of life as a consequence, because none of us will ever transform ourselves and just be the ones transformed. When I transform anything, all of life is transformed. Of course, when I deplete myself in any way, I'm depleting all life too. That's the way it works. I'm either going up or going down, and maybe spend a little time flatlining. Not so much, though. It's either the elevator's going up or down. And as it does, my energy affects all energy in life and living. So, when we look to the master teacher Jesus and we see what he had accomplished and what he had achieved and succeeded, we can no longer say, yeah, but he was Jesus. And I'm me. Why is that? Because he himself shared with us that anything that he had done, we could do and more. Yes, that's what he did. Now, what did Jesus accomplish? He accomplished self-realization. And that meant that he was in this cosmic conscious zone, and that is why he could bring life to deadness. He could make visible what was invisible. He could make heard what was unheard. He could make seen what was unseen. He could do all of those things. But how? Well, let's look at his life and his teaching and his accomplishments, because that's the lesson for today. And he's the one we look to today for whatever inspiration the day will bring to us. And so Jesus knew this. He knew that he couldn't use his Jesus mind. It wasn't going to be his Jesus mind that was going to bring him to what he wanted to accomplish and achieve. What was that? It was responding to the inner prompting within him that told him there's more to realize and to express and to experience. He wanted to explore that. He wanted to unravel the mystery of that, and he wanted to go with that. But he knew that a three-dimensional effect cannot be solved with a three-dimensional solution. He knew it would take more than that. So how did he go about his transformation? Number one, he got the promptings from within to go within very often, to extrapolate himself, to take himself out of the exterior world and to enter into that quiet stillness and the invisibility of the illumination of his soul. Soul at the deepest level. Most of us just dance around the soul. Dance around it and look and see the light and say, yeah, well, I don't think so, not today. Not today. That might be too much for me, and I might have to change too drastically if I penetrate in there. I might just have to leave all of my, all of my attachments and my need to have an excuse or blame or whatever it is for what's going on in my life. And I'm not there yet. I'm just not ready yet. So I'll be back later. But he penetrated that inner sanctum. And the way he did it was to spend more and more and more time in that state of being, realizing within it he could indeed be in contact with his source, whom he loved to call Father, with the source of his being, the provider of his good and the sustainer of his soul and the lover of his entirety. And so he got to do that more and more and more and more. And we are told, he drew aside, he went up the mountain, he went out onto the lake, he went alone himself into the wilderness and so on. And at that time, he was preparing himself and moving deeper into that open receptivity to enlightenment, or conscious Christ consciousness. And then as he did that, what began to happen was he began to identify less and less with his humanity and more with his divinity. He began to identify less and less with his flesh and more with his spirit. He began to move from the man into the godhood. And as he did, the moment came when eventually he became the cosmic Christ, the conscious consciousness, the enlightened one. He became aligned at one with the source of his being, all of life. And then he began to think from that state, feel from that state, live from that state, act from that state. And because he could, he knew now he had conquered the egoic mind and had entered into the cosmic mind. And the egoic mind is the mind of duality and diversiveness and divisiveness. And he entered into the mind that is the Christed mind, which is the cosmic mind, which is that which is unified, harmonized, and has nothing going on except one thing: the recognition of God in everything and in everyone, and the sacred service to that. The sacred service, being in sacred service to that. And that's how he did it. There's no other way of doing it. And then he said, guess what? Don't look at me. Stop looking at me. Because it's not I that am doing this. I of myself do nothing. It is the power of the presence of the Spirit within me that does the work. Do not call me good master. No one is good but God alone. And my word is not my own. It is the word of the one who sent me. So don't look at me. Look into the depth of your soul and find the source of your being there. And let that be your guide. And let that be that which transforms, mends, and fixes, and heals. And then he implied that if we could do that, we too could bring life to deadness and bring into visibility that which is invisible and make heard that which is unheard, and so on. That's the implication. And his brother, the other great enlightened one, Buddha himself, the beautiful, sweet Siddhartha, he said, don't be looking at me. Don't look at me. I am the finger pointing at the moon. Look at the moon. Don't look at the finger. You can be as I am. You too can wake up. You too can wake up. That's what Buddha said. You can wake up. And all the great ones have said the same thing. There's only one thing to say. And there's only one way to accomplish and to achieve it. I have to extrapolate myself, take myself out of the sense world with all of its dualistic nonsense and all its divisiveness and all of its self-centered, in a selfish way, egoic tendencies, and move into the true essence of my being, which is an interior state, an invisible state, the moreness of myself, the vastness of myself, and the moreness of myself. Now, to do that, we have to roll the stone away. We have to roll the stone away from what we have entombed ourselves in, which is our tendency to be frightened and afraid and scared. And because we're frightened and afraid and scared, we behave ourselves badly. We're not the best of ourselves. We really and truly do not access that power and that presence that can take care of all of our needs very nicely, to such a degree that I don't have to envy you anything. I don't have to be jealous of you. I don't have to compare myself with you, what you have and what I haven't got. I don't have to be mean and nasty and lying and cheating. I don't have to be any of those things. Once I'm able to go to the source of my being, my only supply, and know that I will be given to, I will be taken care of, and I will be supplied. So what does that take? It takes faith. And what is faith? It's what you and I are living all of the time, except we're mostly living it on the negative side of life because, envy, hatred, evil, whatever you want to call it, is simply faith in lack and limitation and being less than and not enoughness and so on. It is a faith in I don't measure up. I am not enough. I lack somehow. I haven't got. And until I have everything that they all have, I'm going to do what it takes to get what they all have, by hook or by crook. And it's not a conscious thing. It's a subconscious thing. We're habituated into the egoic way of doing things on this plane. And when I talk about the ego, understand this, I'm not ego bashing, I love the ego. The ego is what makes us individual and personal and our beautiful selves. But the ego imbalance, a harmonized, unified, secure, safe ego. That's what we're talking about. However, an ego running amok is quite a handful. And you know it, and I know it. So the message of Easter is, for heaven's sake, do what the great ones did, the realized ones. Stop identifying with your human self, your egoic self, and start identifying with the divine aspect of your being, your soul self, your spiritual self, the true self of you, the continuing self of you, the eternal self of you, and stop allowing this 5 minutes on planet Earth to trip you up and kick you up the rumpus so many times and land you on your face. You don't have to do that, and neither do I. Is it easy? By Jiminy Crickets, no, it's not. It is not easy. It is difficult. It is hard, but that's okay. It's only difficult and hard. You and I have done difficult and hard things before and had a great, sense of accomplishment and achievement. What we get easy, we don't really appreciate. But things that we have to put a lot of, ourselves into, we appreciate all the more. That's what today is about. Appreciate yourself more. Appreciate yourself more. Because you have a living presence within you. You have an infinite intelligent power within you. You have an awesome companion and champion accompanying you all of the time, which is ignored most of the time because all of us think, well, I have to do it, me do it. Do you remember when we were tiny, the first time you ever said, me do it? I remember the first time I said, me do it. It was about tying my laces. It wasn't a great outcome, but at the same time, I remember it clearly, me do it. And so we have that implanted in us from a very young age, me do it. Well, look where that takes us and gets us when we think it's going to have to be done by me. Not of myself, but of the power and the presence of Spirit within me that can do the work. So how did Jesus do it? When he entered into that state, do you think he went in with a honey-do list? Here's my list today, dear God. Do you think he went in and sat down and said, now, dear God, I have this dreadful pain in my hip, and I really would like it to go away. And you know that awful relationship I have at work and that boss of mine? Well, you need to take care of him. It's time. And what about that wonderful house I have my eye on? Really, isn't it? I've been good, You know I've been good. Isn't it time I got a reward? I could live nicely in there, and when I live nicely in there, I could share that with other people. Not that you do when you get in, but however, and so on. No, here's what Jesus did when he entered into that inner sanctum of his soul and the fullness of the wholeness of the divine essence and grace of Spirit available to him. He went in, and his words and his demeanor and his attitude was one of releasing, relaxing, letting go, and letting God. And all he did or was a bundle of energy that emanated praise and love and gratitude and thanksgiving. When he entered in, that was the only reason why he was entering in, to be in love, to be in praise, to be in gratitude, and to be in thanksgiving to his source, to his beloved Father, his favorite name for that field of infinite power, essence, and intelligence, out of which every good thing flows. That's all. There was no can I, may I, I want. None of that. When can I have when can I have the boat? When can I have the summer house? When can I go on that great vacation? When can I? There was none of that. It was just his whole essence and his whole being, mind, body, heart, and soul, was illuminated in praise, in love, in gratitude, in thanksgiving. There was only a thought of blessedness and oneness, and how all of life was shot through with the glory and the grandeur of his Father, the source of his being and the lover of his soul. That's all there was when any great one enters into the eternal, cosmic, everlasting aspect of their soul. That's all that's going on. There's no gimme, please, I must have, I beg you, just this once, just one more time, and I'll do this and I'll do that and I won't do the other. None of it. None of it. None of it. That's all egoic stuff happening. It's just an ode to the Almighty and the Infinite. It's just a song of praise and a song of joy. It's just an open receptivity to feel what can be felt, to experience what can be experienced, and to know that no matter what, the sadness and the sorrow and the heartache and the brokenness and the stuff of the daily grind in a three-dimensional plane by a life that's run by ego, no matter what that was on the outside, once I've entered in here, that ceases, that goes away, that dissipates. And I have the ability to bring back into my outer world and that three-dimensional plane this feeling that I'm feeling when I'm in a state of conscious, connected grace. And I'm allowing the illumination that is always powerfully flaming, burning brightly within me to have its way with me. Through the way, I stop thinking the regular way, stop feeling the regular way, and stop acting the regular way according to egoic mind. And I start allowing myself to surrender my need to be in control of every little thing. And believe you me, there's not one person sitting in a seat there or me standing here who's not a control freak. Maybe passively, but nevertheless, desperately needing to be in charge and in control. And that's impossible when you are spiritually unfolding consciously. That has to be surrendered and that has to be let go of. But you can't do it unless you have absolute faith and trust in the creative process of your life and know that somehow good comes out of this mess. Good comes out of this impossible situation. Good comes out of this sorrow, this sadness, this brokenness. Good comes out of this, but only when I know that good comes out of this. I have to know it. I have to feel it. I have to say yes to it. I have to be absolutely courageous and brave in the face of it and say, I may be crying today, but I will be laughing tomorrow. And my tears will turn into tears of joy because life is always in a progressive, upward, onward movement, and I'm saying yes to being a conscious part of all of that. So I will feel my sadness, I will feel my sorrow, I will welcome and accept my brokenness, but I know it's very temporary and it's transient, and it will dissipate itself, and it will do it all the more quickly when I have trust and faith in the creative process of my life, and I can look to my source and know this too is passing now. This too is passing now, and in the meantime, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So today we say, roll that stone away. Get out of being entombed in the box of the ego, in its lack and in its limitation and its inability to unclench itself and loosen its grip so that more of life can come in. Like the little monkeys, the way they catch the monkeys. They put a banana in a bottle. They put their hand in, they clasp the banana, and they try to get it out, and they can't get it out. But they won't let go the banana so that they can take their hand away and be free. And so when they come to get them, there they are with their hands still in the bottle clasping the banana. Because they wouldn't let the less thing go for the greater thing, the lesser thing for the greater thing. The banana for freedom. The banana for freedom. And that's how we are. We look at that, we say how stupid those monkeys are, and we pity them. But we're just as equally stupid in the way we hang on to things. Divine though we be. Maybe stupid, but nevertheless we're divine. And that's a good thing to know. And it's okay to say that was stupid, but you know, divine I am and I can overcome it. So the question is, do you want this? Do you really want self-realization? Do you want to self-actualize? Do you want to be the best that you can be? Do you want to be that aligned state of grace, that power, that presence for good in the universe that can be used for good in the universe? Do you really want it? You can't just keep, playing at it. You must really want it, and then do what all of the great ones did to realize it. Do what it takes, and only you can know what that is. But here's what I'm knowing. I'm knowing there's an awesome power, there's an awesome presence, there's an awesome companion and champion that accompanies you, that is in you, that is with you, that is part of you, that will never ever let you go, and that knows one day, sooner or later, sweet baby boy, sweet baby girl, you're going to wake up and be awake. And I can wait. I can wait, but the question is, how long can you wait? Because guess what? You don't have to. There are no waiting rooms in the kingdom of heaven, and the kingdom of heaven is now. So it doesn't matter how down and out you feel, how miserable you feel, no matter how disappointed you are in yourself, matters not. That could turn on a dime. You just have to turn your consciousness around and, hey, presto, a whole new world awaits you, a brand new world, and you can be all that you're created to be. Why not? Let's roll the stone away and get on with it. And so it is. And so you are. Thank you. Thank you. Your clapping spirit, I love it. I love it. You feel its power, you feel its presence, and it's rising up within you. It's sweet too bad, as they say in the West Indies. And now we have an opportunity to enter into our ritual of reciprocity. It's our little ritual of being grateful and thankful and understanding. What goes out comes back, and what that is a blessing. So let's take our gift between our amazing hands and say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper all those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is. Thank you.
God. When I in awesome wonder consider all the works thy hands have made, I see the stars and I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods and forest glades I wander and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees. When I look down from lofty mountains and hear the brook and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great, how
We have been feasted today by the wonderful Roxanne and our wonderful trio. And the feast continues. And now God comes to us in another form. Come along in, children. Tall people at the back. Aren't they beautiful, everybody? Yes. Hello, Peter Rabbit. Brava! Aren't they beautiful? They're our children and their teachers. We love you. Thank you. Thank you, Easter Bunny. Thank you, Miss Marty, Miss Denise. Now, isn't that very sweet? Doesn't that bring you back? You know, if you were a child in Ireland 200 years ago, as I was, come Easter morning, I'm telling you, it's the most exciting day of the year. Why is that? Not Christmas, no, Easter morning, because for 40 days before that, we ate no candy, except on St. Patrick's Day, there's a special dispensation for the Irish. Can you imagine the amount of candy we had stored up? The arsenal of candy was going to be unleashed after we came back from Mass and had breakfast, and then we could dive into it. Oh my goodness me. Woo! I get really strung up just thinking about all that sugar. Now, I know some of you are going to go home to some Easter eggs too and a little bit of Easter goodness. But let's make the sweetness and let's make the sugar more than something we eat. Let's make it something that we ooze as a sweet, divine fragrance and as the blessed givingness of life back onto itself in honor and in praise and in gratitude and in love for our Creator. You are beautiful beings. Never forget that. Keep blessing yourself and know that you can love yourself and you can respect yourself and you can honor yourself because God dwells in you. as you. So now we'll have our blessing. I know divine love enfolds me, divine light leads me, divine life lives in me, divine wisdom inspires me, divine compassion expresses through me, divine power protects me. All that I am is Spirit's life in expression. It is good and very good. With deep joy and generosity filling me, I go forward now in sacred service, supporting a compassionate world that works for all. I move through my days with grace and ease, in peace and love, in health and wellness, in fullness and plenty, in loving relationship with all. What I now know for myself, with blessing and in deep gratitude, I know for all. There is only God, there is only God, there is only God. And so, my dear ones, I will just remind you that there are cards at the side counter here if you'd like to fill in a good wish for the good Reverend Erin as she recovers from her bout of pneumonia. I'm sure she would love to see your sweet name on that on those cards. So let's stand now for our song. Happy Easter, everybody! Coffee and cookies